like Amanda showed why she's pound for pound one of the best female fighters in the world, and Amanda showed why she's Arturo Gatti or Mickey Ward, and that's what she is. She's a warrior spirit of women's boxing. You know, sometimes you're lucky enough to have a fight where someone clearly wins, but nobody loses, and that's what you saw tonight. Because I don't think either one of those women lost. Those women came out here tonight and they stole the show. They stole the promotion. Most of the tickets were sold to them, but they came out tonight. Like Devin Haney's a great fighter. He showed it. Tremendous prospect. But in terms of the fight of the night was the fight of the promotion, and it was Serrano and Hardy, and they were fighting for something bigger than just their own pride. They were fighting also for women's boxing. They got a big platform and they delivered. You know, and I was sitting there hoping to myself that all I said to myself going is I want them to both walk out healthy. I want them to give the best of what they are. Like I want them to leave it all in the ring. They did it. I'm so thrilled with both women, and I'm so proud of them. And it's a rarity in our sport where something lives up to the hype. You know, it doesn't happen that often. It happens, thank God, and that's why the sport's so incredible. But tonight, that fight lived up to the hype. I mean, and those women delivered. They delivered not only for themselves, they delivered for women that are going to follow them. When people look back at the history of women's boxing, tonight's going to be something they're going to remember.
If Heather is Mickey Ward, Arturo Gatti, who do you think Amanda is? Who would you?
Mayweather or De La Hoya.
Wow.
I mean, I think she's. You know, I mean, I think when you look at women's boxing, there are 4 women that stand alone right now at the moment, and it's Clarissa and Amanda and Katie Taylor and Cecilia. You know, you're looking at there's some pound for pound women. You know, like women like Person, who gave Katie hell. She's right up there too. Jessica McCaskill's coming. There are women that don't have titles like Tiara Brown, Raquel Miller. They're coming. And Alicia Napoleon is coming. And there are a lot of girls out there that are coming. Salima Arena. They're all over the place. I mean, here's the wonderful thing. I can't even think and name all the quality women in boxing right now. When I first got into the sport 30 years ago, there were some great women, but the talent pool was so limited. Right now, there's a very deep talent pool, and you literally could make a great women's fight on every single fight card we do. You could have a championship level women's fight on every card, and I guarantee you, with good matchmaking, a great fight every single time. The women deserve better.
Thank you.
They deserve more opportunities. They deserve more chances to show what they can do. Tonight, 2 of the best fought, and what'd you get? You got pure entertainment. And I don't think there was anyone in that room that didn't love that fight. And when I'm on social media just now, I went through my messages, and what people are saying, they're saying great stuff. Because it wasn't, okay, you knew who the winner was. The winner was clear. But what you got was 2 women who gave the best of what they are, of who they are. And they both covered themselves, in my mind, with glory. I thought tonight, I thought Amanda was great, and I thought Heather was great. And I thought Amanda was, you saw Amanda Serrano, what she is and how good she is. You also saw who Heather Hardy is. And they should both be proud. And I think when, you know, I know Heather is heartbroken right now, but I think when Heather takes a breather and she takes a couple of days and relaxes and chills, and then she looks at what people saw in her performance tonight, I think she's going to be really, really proud. I also think she's going to do better. I mean, I don't think her career is over. I think tonight, in a lot of ways, was the best Heather's ever fought. And I think that she's going to get another opportunity to make a good payday, maybe another career high payday, because she earned it. And Amanda and Katie Taylor is a super fight. I mean, it's like, forget about male, female, whatever. It's 2 of the best fighters in the world fighting each other, and when they fight, that's one of the biggest fights. Maybe when it happens, will be the biggest fight that's happened in women's boxing.
Hey Luke, seeing the first round, it seemed like Heather was in a lot of trouble, and granted the fact that there was an extra minute.
I got to admit, my heart was in my mouth. Yeah.
Seeing the fact of the debate on 2-minute rounds, 3-minute rounds.
I'm tired of fucking debating about 2 or 3 minutes. Shut the fuck up with people with their 3-minute round bullshit. Because the only people that keep talking about 3-minute rounds aren't going to accept and like women's boxing. If there were 5 fucking minute rounds, or 12 fucking round fights, or 15 round fights. If anything, if you really want to look at the world today, people want quicker fights. They want more action. They don't want length. Look at MMA and its success, and part of it is because of the immediate gratification. And by the way, women can't get fucking attention or platforms or fights on cards in quantity and making them longer. And on top
Preach,
of it,
brother.
and one other thing, I'm going to preach on one more thing, and this is one that really bothers me. This is one that really bothers me. I'm going to ask everybody who wants to ever talk about some bullshit 2 or 3 minute round debate. I want you to Google women and head injury and Google women and concussion. And there's a reality. Women are more susceptible to head injury and concussion than men are. There's just a physiological difference, and that's a fact. And it's every major medical study that's been done shows the same thing. It's one of the reasons why in youth soccer they're considering not having headers in girls' soccer matches, because women are far more susceptible to brain bleeds, far more susceptible to concussion, far more susceptible to a recurrence of a concussion, far more susceptible to concurrent concussion syndrome. So there's a lot of reasons just to leave it where it is. And here's the other thing. You shouldn't fucking make less money and take more risk than the men are taking in the same fight.
Woo!
Right?
Talk about
So
it.
stop with the 2 and 3 minute round bullshit. If anything, part of what made that fight was so exciting was the pace of the fight. The pace of the fight was fun. It was quick. It moved. And in 2 minutes, look, the average men's 3 minute round, it's very rare you see. If you see a round where both fighters are going at it for 3 consecutive minutes, usually you see a shit round in the next round.
That's true.
And most of the time, you see a 3 minute round. How many times you see a 3 minute round where one or both of the fighters takes a minute off? So I don't want to, the debate, particularly, I made a point of doing this too. I try to see, look, it's a legitimate point, and there's some purists, and I get, like, it's not, they're not being haters. I don't think everyone that makes the point about 2 or 3 minute rounds is an idiot. But I do see a lot of the haters, the people that are never going to accept women's boxing, going, women's boxing shit, and you fight 2 minute rounds. Get the fuck out of here.
Thank you.
Happen within 6 months.
Okay.
And with that being said, I saw that Katie's talking about moving up and fighting at 140. Amanda's not going to fight Katie at 140. I mean, Amanda's fought at 140, but let's face reality, she's not a big girl. I mean, you saw tonight, who was the bigger girl in the ring tonight? Heather was the bigger girl in the ring
Right.
tonight. So Amanda's going to fight Katie at a weight class where it's really a pound for pound fight, and that's 135. So I mean, do I know for certain Amanda will fight Katie next? I don't know that. Amanda can't. Amanda waited a long time for this fight. She's been off for about 6 to 8 months, and she needs to fight more often than that. So we're going to see what happens, and if the Katie fight is there and Katie's ready for it, we're ready for it. And if it's not, we're going to fight the biggest fight available to Amanda. I mean, look, Amanda's shown it already. I mean, she'll move weight classes, she'll do whatever. And let me tell you, do you think there's anybody that doesn't want to see Heather Hardy fight again? Everybody wants to see Heather Hardy fight again. And I think Heather, I think there's a decent chance Amanda will not stay at 26. And for all we know, Heather could fight for a featherweight title again in her next fight.
We're going to have to do a deal with another one of Lou's fighters, because he also has the 140-pound world champion, which we're trying to make a deal with. Hopefully we'll get there this weekend to move up a weight class and try and become a 2-weight world champion. But she remains with her belts at 135, and the deal in place with Amanda is for a fight at 135. So Katie makes 135 easy. She may be able to make 130, but unlikely now. But 135, no problem. So a fight with Katie and Amanda would be at 135 pounds. And as Lou said tonight, I probably already said it, probably a headline fight here. I don't fight the Garden before it,
Ever.
And I said this to Eddie earlier. I really believe it. I think that if that fight is the main event in the theater, I think that fight will go clean. There will not be a walk up. That fight will sell out in advance. That's how significant I think that fight is, and that fight's going to bring out the entire Irish population of New York and the entire Puerto Rican population of New York, and every New York boxing fan will want to see that fight. And it's not going to matter that it's a girls' fight. No one's going to look at it that way. They're going to look at it as 2 of the best fighters in the world, 2 of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world fighting each other.
So possibly in March or in June, either one of those fighters.
Yeah, I think probably more like February or March, to be honest with you. I mean, look, it's September now. Amanda's just done 10 rounds, so she can have a nice rest. Katie's going to go early November, but she's had a good break. She's been fighting sort of 4 times a year, and she hasn't boxed since June the 1st, so she's going to box November 2nd, and she'll be ready for February or March.
And by the way, how good is Devin Haney?
Woo!
Unbelievable.
Woo!
That kid can fight.
20 years old.
Woo!
The sky is that kid's got like prodigy, like that kid's got crazy talent,
Yes.
crazy talent.
But they want to speed up. So Bill and Devin I'm going to do what Bill and Devin tell me to do.
Promoter probably doesn't want to make that fight right now, but I'll tell you what, You want to hear the fighter wanting it. You want to hear the fighter and his trainer screaming for it. I mean, how hard of you when you hear reasons from fighters why they shouldn't be fighting other top guys. That shit pisses me off. I'd rather see a 20-year-old kid telling me he wants to fight King Kong because I know what that kid's made of. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear this guy calling out Lomachenko. I don't even mind it when I love Lomachenko. He might be the best fighter on earth. I'll tell you this, he has the best footwork I've ever seen in my life. He's certainly one of the top 4 fighters in the world. But I want to see a 20-year-old kid calling out the best guy in the world. I think that's what he's supposed to do. You know, I got a kid, George Kambosos. Is he ready for Lomachenko? No. He's out there calling him out. I like to see that. Tells me who the kid is. You know, and Devin Haney's good, and he knows he's good.
But like when you look at the lightweight division, who do you rate as better than Devin Haney? Lomachenko, you know, like he's pound for pound stuff. Tell me another fighter. I mean, I rate Luke Campbell as one of the best lightweights in the world. He had a good fight with Lomachenko, but you know he lost convincingly.
You know, this kid's going to get better and better.
But who do you rate at lightweight better than Devin Haney? I'm sorry, Tiff.
What are your thoughts on Tank moving up against Haney?
Yeah, I mean, if Tank's, I think, look, Devin's sparred with Tank many times, and people know what happened there, and I'm sure he'll feed that in. That's a great fight.
So
But-
would you like to see that happen
Yeah,
in
of course,
2020?
of course. Great fight. Tank's going to struggle the more he moves up in weight, in my opinion. I mean, I think he's a phenomenal fighter, but I also think he's a featherweight that moved to super featherweight and now he moves to lightweight, where he at all those divisions, he never really accomplished what he should have accomplished, which is probably being unified in every single division and maybe even being undisputed. But if you look at the current active lightweights, you have to really, you know, again, like talking about, I know Luke Campbell's one of my guys, but I can't see how you can compare Teofimo Lopez to Devin Haney right now. I think he's a different type of fighter. I mean, Lou's got Richard Comyn, who he raised very high. Again, like, I just think there's so much more to come from Devin. He didn't get out of first gear tonight, let alone get to second gear. You know, and there's more levels to go beyond Zaur Abdullaev, but he's 20. I mean, we've got guys starting out at 20, 21, 22. Guys are at 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and this guy's 23-0 at 20 years old. And you know what? When I found out about Devin Haney that his dad looks after him, I was just thinking, oh no. You know, Lou will tell you, dealing with fathers who represent their kids is a recipe for disaster. For Bill, it's exactly the opposite. Like what he did with Devin, taking him to Mexico at 16 on his pro debut. I think he had his first 7 or 8 fights in Mexico in small, like, excuse the French, like poxy arenas, you know, like just, and that's where he learned his trade. And his work ethic is something I've never seen in sport, never seen. Someone who lives in Vegas, got money, got everything. And that's the difference between him and some of the fighters we've just mentioned.
You also hear the term in boxing man strength. You know, where guys have man strength. You know, a 19 and 20-year-old kid doesn't have the same physicality in terms of like physical strength as he does when he's 22, 23, 24. I mean, some of the best guys, they may want to take him up on his offer and take those fights right now because Devin Haney's going to be way more of a problem in 2 years than he is right now. I mean, he's already like a physical anomaly. He's a freak. I mean, he's a tremendous athlete. But when this kid gets physically stronger, he's going to be a real problem.
That's right.
How soon do you think he's going to be moving up to, like, you know, sort of lightweight and welterweight? Because
Well,
I couldn't see
that was a conversation before this fight. But I have to say, they always tell you, fighters always tell you they made the weight okay. We knew when he fought Moran, he didn't make the weight great. And it was a concern going into this fight that, are we going to get the title at 135? Because if not, maybe we should look at 140. But I believe, as Lou said, we talk about man strength, this guy is going to be a multi-weight world champion. He can't miss the boat at 135. That's got to be his first strap. And he's interim champion. It's not a real world title. We know that. We've got to get the real thing. But this fight, he made weight super comfortably. So that's reassuring. I think he has 2 to 3 fights left at 135. And then, so he has to win that world title before he moves to 140. He's talking about, he believes he can end up at 154. You know, but who knows? I mean, he's 20.
So do you, Haney, and take your chance right now?
Yeah. You know, and I know it's hard to call him out now, oh, Haney will do this, Haney will... But all we're saying is that Lomachenko is going to wait for the winner. They tell me that both guys, Comey and Lopez have agreed to fight Lomachenko if they win. Lou might tell us different.
No,
But-
that's true.
Right, okay.
I
So,
feel the bigger payday would be with Javante Tank Davis.
yeah, but he wants a belt. I mean, that's what Devin Haney wants. He wants to win a belt at 135. So what we're
I'm
saying
saying as
is,
far as Lomachenko deciding who he wants to
what are you
fight.
saying?
Do you see Javante Tank Davis in a Lomo fight before you see a Lomachenko?
No,
Devin Haney?
no, I don't see either of them. I don't see either of them. I mean,
Hey.
Bob's not going to take it. But what I'm saying is, Lopez is fighting Comment in December. Lomachenko's waiting for the winner of that fight for the undisputed fight. That fight's not going to be till May. April, May, June. So what's he going to... He boxed in August. So is he going to sit out for 10 months, Lomachenko? If he fights in the interim, the fans should almost insist it's his mandatory challenger. If he fights for the undisputed, I understand. Every fighter should try and fight for the undisputed title. But if not, I believe he should face his mandatory. Lomachenko is not afraid of anyone. He'll probably look at Haney and go, I like that fight. I'm sure he wants to fight Javante Davis as well. But whether that fight will be allowed is another story.
Hey Eddie, how are you guys so sure that, with all due respect to Devin Haney, he's a great kid, but how do you know he's as great as you think he is without fighting a big name? I mean, Lomas made Nicholas Waters quit, Rigondeaux quit, he's fought Gary Russell, he's fought
Lomachenko is a legend.
Right.
As I said, like
Right,
you
right.
can't compare the two. You
But
can't
aren't we
compare
kind of
resume.
crowning Devin Haney a little too quick?
No, I think he boxed the number 2 in the WBC, who, understand, I wouldn't say he was an elite world level fighter, he's a world class fighter, made him look like a journeyman. Couldn't win a second of a round. Like, that was supposed to be a solid test tonight, and it's not just, I appreciate there's a lot more tests to come, but it's how he's dealing with these, how he's improving. And I just don't think that in terms of current lightweights, there's much more of a tougher test than Lomachenko and Devin Haney. You know, I can't see how he can't give even Lomachenko a great fight. They think they can win. I mean, maybe Lomachenko's unbeatable. Maybe. But you can't, there's no one sitting here that says they wouldn't want to see Lomachenko against Devin Haney.
Lomachenko's not unbeatable because he already lost.
Yeah, okay. He would be coming 5 pound heavy in that fight, Salido.
But he's a journeyman.
He's a journeyman, it's a bit harsh.
Eddie.
Salido's a journeyman. Well, don't say that in Mexico, you get shot.
Eddie. Eddie, so with Devin Haney as the mandatory challenger for Lomachenko now, what kind of a fight would you be looking to make in November on the KSI Logan undercard with Devin Haney if he fights on?
He'll be defending his WBC interim title. So he'll be fighting most likely a top 15 guy from the WBC. It's 8 weeks tonight. So he's just getting the all clear from the doctors, which we don't expect a problem. And he embraces that card. You know, I know there's been a lot of sort of talk about that card. Couldn't be more perfect for Devin Haney, that card. Couldn't be more perfect. The millennials, they love Devin Haney. Hopefully he wins millions of new fans on November the 9th.
Hey, Eddie, to piggyback off what Rodman said, Haney is great, but how do you know until he fights somebody like maybe like the loser of Comey versus Lopez, or just somebody that's, I mean, you said the guy that was fighting tonight was, you know, ranked number 2 in the WBC, but I mean, I don't think you would put him anywhere in the top 5 of, you know, the weight class. So how do you really know if you fight somebody that's really great, can't take with a good shot? How do you really know?
By fighting somebody great. Yeah, I mean, we want to do it, you know, we want to do it, and that's why he's got to mandatory. He's not got to mandatory and said to me, can I just have 3 or 4 easy fights now? He wanted to get the mandatory because he wants to fight Lomachenko. So, let's find out. You know, I just think, I agree with both of your comments, that there are levels above, there's levels between Abdullaev and Lomachenko. And I'd like to see him go to those, you know, be in those levels, but he's mandatory. But he's dealing with those guys so easily, it gives me great confidence that he can deal with the rest. But, you know, I mean, I think they're bold. Like I said to them, do you want to chase Lomachenko? Yeah, we do. We like that fight. I mean, there'll be, you know, Bill will tell you, they believe they can win that fight.
So in the past, you made these offers for, let's say, like trying to get the Javante Tank Davis fight, 7 corner on your zone, and Would you be willing to do something like that to try to get Lomachenko?
Yeah, it won't work,
under
but I might do it for fun.
Why wouldn't it work?
Well, because he's not allowed to box on another platform. You know, we had the whole thing with Crawler. You know, when Crawler was mandatory, we were going to go to purse bids. They told me clear, if you win the purse bids, we will vacate the belt. Lomachenko is not allowed to box on another network. So what I will do is I will make an offer to Lomachenko, because I think he's massively underpaid right now, and I will want to show him the levels that we would pay for a fight like that on DAZN. Not going to be accepted in a million years. But I would let Devin Haney box Lomachenko on ESPN. No problem.
So, Eddie, with that being said, did you hear the Twitter comments by Shakur Stevenson where he said all the major promoters should get in the room and make boxing great again? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I'm a puppy, I guess. I've only been promoting 10 years, although I've been around boxing for 30 years. You're better off asking who the better. There's about as much chance of that happening as there is of Lou growing hair and me growing hair, or me losing weight. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like
look. You know, first of all, we still sometimes do make the biggest fights. You know, and people do move around on occasion when the money necessitates it, and the fighters demand it, and promoters are able to work together. But we have different. Right now, there are. I hate that term, different streets and different sides of the street. But there are fighters who are attached to representation that's not going to let them move around, and or at least so easily. So it really, you know what, the fans and you guys have a lot to do with causing the demand for a fight to be sufficient enough to necessitate promoters working together. And you know what, I mean, a kid like a Devin Haney who's going to be in Lomachenko's grill until he gets a big fight, his smack talk that some people, I heard a couple of people like buzzing when he started dissing Loma in the ring. But you know what, man, he's trying to do his thing to build the fight. He's trying to do his thing to create demand, and he's trying to show people he'll fight anybody on earth. So I respect that, and eventually, you know, the big fights do tend to happen. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer than we would like. Right now, there's some more impediments to making some of those fights happen. Look, it's unfortunate when you see guys out there basically saying, when a fighter himself is saying, I like Shakur saying, sit down and try to make the fights. That's cool. Like, I mean, respect to him for doing that. I've seen a lot of shit being said recently by a lot of fighters saying, I'm not fighting on this side of the street, I'm staying where I am. Fuck you care what side of the street you're on. I mean, if you're a champion, you want to fight the best guys out there. At least I want to hear the fighters demanding the big fights. And then if the public demanding the big fights, the writers calling for the big fights, the fighters demanding the big fights, then we're forced to talk. We're forced to communicate, to try to figure out a way to make them happen. You know, they had to make Lennox Lewis and Tyson happen. They had to figure out a way. The pay-per-view was on multiple platforms, you know. I mean, Eddie sent some guys over to ESPN already. ESPN has sent people to DAZN. Ramirez fought Hooker on DAZN. You know, there is history. It can happen. It'll happen more often, but in order for it to happen more often, the fighters themselves have to demand it, the press has to demand it, and most importantly, the people paying the money, the fans, have to demand it.
Hey, Eddie, you said
the Logan Paul and KSI press conferences tomorrow in LA. How soon are you going to move forward, and is it a foregone conclusion that Devin Haney will be on that card?
Yeah, provided he gets signed off tonight, which is almost a formality.
Did he even break a sweat?
No, I don't think so.
I
But
think it's fine.
yeah, so we'll announce that tomorrow. Basically, I'm leaving. We're flying soon to get there tomorrow. And like I said before, it's the perfect audience for him. You know, he's super excited about it. You know, and I wanted to hear it from him because you get some people on social media. Oh, he must be devastated going on that card. He asked to go on that card. You know, you've got millions of young people watching from around the world. He's 20 years old. He is the future of boxing. So there's no better audience for Devin Haney than that audience of bringing in new fans.
Hey Lou, what do you think of Eddie doing that Logan Paul card?
He's a massive Logan Paul fan.
I gotta be honest, I'm not a Logan Paul fan. I said it already, I really don't. I mean, my brother was a suicide. I got real strong feelings about that. I got problems with some shit that Logan Paul did. But you know what? He's an internet sensation. He is another guy who's got an internet sensation with a marketplace. And it's something that was already been proven when they fought the first time that people want to see it. So I mean, it's not my thing. I don't even know who the guys are really, but I mean, unfortunately, I know Logan Paul. I don't know the other guy, but a lot of people do, and it's going to bring in eyeballs. And if you're DAZN, it makes sense, you know. And it is a. I don't believe necessarily that fight is going to bring a tremendous audience or move people to boxing fandom who aren't fans already. However, I do think it's going to bring eyeballs to DAZN, and I think that there is that millennial crowd that really follow the social media influencers or in that world. They're going to gravitate to the sport, and you know what? Maybe they do see a Devin Haney on the undercard, or another young fighter on the undercard, and it causes them to pay attention a little bit more to boxing. So, I mean, I don't view it the way I view a serious boxing event, but if people want to see something, people want to pay for it, then God bless them. I mean, so it's a free marketplace and it's a free world, and these guys, no question, look at the social media following that these dudes have. It's sort of remarkable. And I don't get it necessarily, but then again, I'm 59 fucking years old.
Eddie, back to the fight tonight. You mentioned Haney's 20 years old and you've never seen someone work that hard. Talk about his in-ring performance, his poise, that he wasn't trying to do too much, that he wasn't, trying to impress the crowd. I mean, he looked like he was a seasoned veteran.
That's the thing. I mean, when you watch, like Lou talked earlier about Lomachenko's feet, Haney controls the distance so well. Like he's sliding in, he's holding, he's walking you back to the ropes, then he's back to the jab, he's spinning you around. But all these things, for someone so young, that's what's remarkable. And it's not, like we talk about the level of opposition. It's not just the level of opposition, it's what he's doing in the ring, what he's doing to him. He's walking in with uppercuts. It's like a genius. He doesn't watch tape of some fighters. He gets told what to do by Bill. But he works it out so quickly, and that's why you see him go through the gears. Like he was about to annihilate Abdullaev. Annihilate him, really hurt him. And he was just picking him, placing the shots, the body shots were incredible. Like it was the maturity that he shows. And forget work ethic, the maturity that he shows with his shot selection, his feet, everything. It's I haven't seen it before. I was lucky enough to promote Lomachenko 2 weeks ago in London, and again watching that same thing. Doesn't quite do it with the same speed as Haney, but obviously again he's just on another level. But I still struggle to get my head around. He's 24-0, 20 years old.
Not only that, but if you watched him when he was 8-0 or 10-0, and you watch him now, he's so much better. He's so much better. I mean, and not to say, like you saw him at 17, 18, and you knew he was going to be something. He could fight. He had all this ability, but in terms of how quickly he's getting better, man, he's.
Lou, they took him all around the gym sparring, and still do. His dad drives him everywhere. LA, tour the sparring at the Wild Card, and in Vegas.
That's how you get better. You get better by getting in there with guys that are more seasoned than you are and have more experience than you are. And he's a guy that's just really, really getting better quickly.
Talk of the devil, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause, Mr. Devin Haney.
Everybody.
Thank you, Lou.
Good night. Thank you, Lou.
Thanks, Lou.
Devin. Yes.
Champ is here.
Champ.
Okay, guys, the main man is here, WBC interim world champion.
I will.
I'm going to come over here because I feel a bit sad over there. Questions for the champ, guys?
Devin, could you rate your performance from 0 to 10 in your opinion?
I would have to go back and really watch the fight. I feel like I put a great performance on. I really was just warming up. I didn't get a chance to really let my hands go like I wanted to. Like I said, I was just warming up. I had started to let my hands go, and then the fight was stopped.
Were you planning to heat up in the 5th, 6th, 7th round? Because we saw you just using the jab, controlling the distance. It seemed like Eddie said earlier, you didn't leave first gear. So.
Yeah, coming in the fight, My dad told me just to go in there, use my jab, stay relaxed, let everything come, and that's what I did. I went in there, I started working the body, I started warming up, I started, catching his rhythm, seeing what he was doing, and then the fight was pretty much stopped.
Devin, this was tipped to be one of your hardest sort of opponents to date. Does it feel like that in there?
Abdullaev, he is a tough opponent. I just went in there, I put on a great performance, and I made him look easy. But if he fought anyone else, he might be a tough fight for him. He was undefeated. He was the number 2 contender. He was the WBC silver champion, and on paper, he was supposed to be my hardest opponent. So I went in there. I trained very hard for this fight. I sacrificed a lot. I had a good training camp, and I went in there and I made the fight look easy. But for anybody else, who knows if he would give them a test or not.
They said maybe his cheek was broken. Do you know what you caught him with?
It looked like it was a right hook that I caught him with, but like I said, I really don't know. I started hitting him with some good shots. I hit him with some good uppercuts, some good right hooks, some good jabs. So I really don't know what shot did it, but I hit him with a jab, and his nose just started leaking. So I don't really know what shot it was.
The doctors said they think it was a nose and a cheekbone, both broken.
Hey Devin, we spoke about your last knockout and you got a stoppage here. Which one did you like better? 2 different styles, type of knockouts or stoppages? You picked which one you preferred?
On paper, Abdullaev was, a much tougher opponent. A lot of people were saying that this was going to be a real test. He was going to go in there and make it a dog fight, and he was a very hard puncher. So this performance means more. Of course, the knockout was sensational. It was a viral knockout. But this fight meant a lot more.
Now, Eddie and Devin, obviously the fight now being over, everything seems to check out on the medical side at least, from what it seems. Are we going to see Devin back November the 9th in Los Angeles?
Yeah, that's the plan. We're going to talk to Bill and Devin. Obviously, in the ring after the adrenaline's going, and they both said 100%, let's go for that. The slot's there for him. I think he's the absolute perfect audience for Devin Haney. Millions of young people watching around the world. I think if you're going to bring someone into the sport of boxing, what Lou said, I don't think these people necessarily will stick to boxing. Well, they won't if they don't see something that makes them go wow. Luckily, we've got something that makes you go wow, and that's Devin Haney. So with these millions of young people watching around the world, if they witness Devin Haney, they're going to be a fan and they're going to stick. So if Bill and Devin say tomorrow, Monday, tonight, November 9th, 8 weeks tonight, perfect. You can have a little rest for a few days, and then I think that'd be the perfect platform, sold out Staples Center.
I got a question for Eddie. Eddie, is the press conference tomorrow? Or is it...
Yeah.
You think I can get the first flight out to the press conference out there in LA?
You want to do that?
I think so.
Sure.
I think so.
Can I
I'm ready for November 9th. I went in there, I didn't take, hardly any punishment. Of course, I had a hard training camp, so of course I want to take a few days off, but I want to get back in the ring as soon as possible.
Now, I know you haven't been on your phone, you've been taking care of other things, but Logan Paul actually mentioned Eddie Hearn and requested for you to be on that undercard. He said, Eddie, could we make this happen? So,
Well, he's a big fan. He was watching tonight, and there's been a lot of chat from, like I said, from the internet saying, it's an insult, a fighter going on the undercard of a fight. It's 20,000 people at the Staples Center. It's millions of people watching around the world.
I'm able to adjust to anybody. I feel like I'm one of the best fighters in the world, and I'm willing to, showcase my skills against whoever they put in front of me.
You've just headlined at the Hulu Theatre. Do you have to sort of bite your pride to be on the undercard of that, or is there not a partnership?
Say it again?
Do you have to sort of bite your pride to be on the undercard of KSI?
No, they have a big following, and like you said, I just headline here. I'm going on their card, and I'm happy to be on the card. Like I said, it's good for boxing, and it's going to bring a lot more fans, to Devin Haney and to boxing period.
Devin, congratulations on a great win tonight. Your poise in the ring is unbelievable. It shows that it's showing that you're a lot older than only 20. But talk about your dad and what he means to you in your professional career. what he brings to the table in boxing?
My dad means so much. You know, he means everything to my career. My dad was the first person, you know, who brought me to the gym. He taught me how to throw my first jab before I was even boxing. You know, he taught me how to put my hands up, you know, and just protect myself. So my dad means a lot. You know, without my dad, I wouldn't be here. You know, my dad, he came up, you know, really with the game plan to go in there in the ring tonight, and I just went in there and executed it. You know, like I said, without my dad, I wouldn't be where I'm at. You know, I'm thankful for him, and I appreciate him. You know, he doesn't get a lot of attention because, you know, people they try to say, oh, this trainer, but really my dad is behind, you know, the science behind Devin Haney.
How about
Trainer of the year.
Now you had that last fight against Antonio Moran at the MGM over in the Washington D.C. area, and now here in the MSG. What do you think that you worked on from those past 2 fights? And you know, I would say over the past couple of years that makes you seem so patient in the ring and being able to be real focused when you're going up against your opponent.
I've been saying this now, you know, I'm only getting better, and that's why I keep saying those guys, they better fight me now, because as time go on, I'm only going to get better. So it's only going to get worse for them. You know, I train hard in the gym, like I said, I sacrifice. I work on many different things, and I'm a student of the game. So, you know, every fight I'm going to get better.
Now, I see that you're here at 135. How long will it be until you start to move up to 140, 147? According to you?
My weight cut went actually really good for this fight. I felt great. I'll stay at 135, you know, if I can get a big fight, but I'm not going to stay here, you know, forever. I'm not going to stay here, you know, too long, but I'm willing to stay here for, you know, a little bit longer, you know, because I want to get a title at 135 and then move up. I don't want to, you know, miss the 135 division, you know, without getting a title. You know, I want to be a multi-division world champion, so, you know, it starts at 135.
Devin, why not go after
There was a few people here that feel like you're too green for Lomachenko. I personally feel like that you would defeat Lomachenko. What do you see in Vasyl Lomachenko? Because I believe I see what you see in Lomachenko, that you could defeat him. But there's some people that here tonight that think you're too green to defeat Lomachenko.
Yeah, well, you know, Lomachenko is a great fighter. You know, I take nothing away from him. And that's exactly why I want to fight him, because he's a great fighter. And no disrespect to, you know, any of his other opponents, but it was obviously, you know, too green for him too. So if I'm too green, let me just go on the list with all the other green fighters that he fought.
That's why he's the dream.
I've got a question for Bill. How do you assess Devin's performance tonight? And a second part to that question, do you feel that he's ready for somebody like Lomachenko, considering his amateur career and what he's in the pro ranks?
I mean, every fight, Devin is getting better and better, and like he keeps reiterating, it's only going to get worse. I think he did great with this fight. I mean, we expected him to go in and use his jab and break him down. You know, kind of like you know, the Floyd thing. You know, everyone once, you know, saw the last fight and saw the knockout, and he kind of like, you know, was, you know, thinking about his right hand. But all through camp, you know, I stressed that his jab, he has his best jab in the business, and he went out and he broke him down with his jab, and he set up the right hand.
Thank you,
in my interim world title, and we'll see what happens.
Eddie.
This is for your dad. I know you'll fight just about anybody. You'll fight Lomachenko. You'll fight Canelo if you really wanted to. But would you rather like see your son fight somebody like a Luke Campbell, a Richard Comey, a couple guys that are like up there in the rankings before he just jumped right into Lomachenko, or do you just want to just fight Lomachenko off the bat if you had your, you know?
Well, I mean, we wanted to fight originally Luke Campbell for the title, you know, and that was what we went into it with Eddie in hopes that we could have made that fight happen. I think he's had 5 fights on television now, and I think they've been flawless performances. As far as Lomachenko, I don't see anyone on Lomachenko's list that Devin could handle as well. I don't see it as being a problem. So I mean, of course, we want Lomachenko. He wants to make the biggest fights and the best fights, and part of the reason of I guess is going with Eddie as well is because he makes the best fights, you know, and I think he's going to make the fight with Lomachenko sooner or later.
One thing that I can say is, if I'm just so easy, if I'm so green, if I'm not ready, why not just fight me and beat me? Get me out the way. If I saw somebody and it was just an easy payday and it was just something, I would fight him too. So why not just fight me and get me out the way? I'm talking a lot. I'm making a lot of buzz. I'm calling his name every single day. I DM'd him on Instagram. He didn't respond. Why not just get me out the way?
Because you're not easy. You're not
Question for
green.
you, Eddie. I mean, you've brought a couple of American fighters over to the UK. When do you think we can see Devin on our show?
Well, before he starts getting too expensive, I'd love to get him to the UK. You know, actually, after the fight, I went on social media. He was trending #1 in the UK, which basically, obviously, it was live on Sky Sports tonight. There's a lot of people staying up to watch him. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, and every boxing fan in the UK is staying up to watch him. Now, I'd even like to take him to Saudi Arabia and box on the Joshua. I mean, there's so many things that I want to do, and part of the plan is to box him all over America as well. You know, we've done Washington now, we've done New York, now we do LA, but there's also the UK, there's the Middle East, there's Asia. You know, when you talk about building a global star, this is what I keep saying about Saudi Arabia. You know, people moan about Saudi Arabia. It's another world out there. America's a great country, so is Britain. But it's a big place, you know, and the people in the Middle East, the people in the Far East, you know, the people in Asia, everyone can be a Devin Haney fan.
That's right.
So I feel like if you're selling boxing, this is the person that you want to showcase it for. Yeah! What time is it? What do we need?
Haney, you mentioned Lomachenko. A name out there, like you're not mentioning, is Mike Garcia. I heard, Eddie Hearn, possibly, Mike joining the zone. Why not Mike Garcia? Loma doesn't want to face him. 135, 40.
I don't think you see Garcia at 35 again, but 40 maybe. I mean, all these fights.
That's true, Eddie. I'm actually Haney. Hey, what do you think? What do you think? I mean, I'm just saying, I don't get Mikey now. Mikey's a name out there.
Yeah, like.
What do you think about Mikey? What's that?
I really don't know what weight class he's going to fight. I heard that he was coming back at 147, but like I said, I can say this, over and over and over again. I'm not turning down no smoke. I'm willing to fight the best fighters. I'm willing to fight everybody. I want to showcase my skills, and I'm ready for whoever.
Thanks.
He was campaigning while Mikey Garcia was champ. We were campaigning in the WBC. He was one of the guys that was on the list as well. So, Mikey.
But like even at 140, the matchups, which is like Devin against Jose Ramirez.
They're all there. You got Tank.
Jose against the winner of Progress against Taylor. Devin against the winner of Progress against Taylor.
Tank moved up.
Great fight. Javonte Davis. I mean, they've got history. They won that fight bad.
It's a lot of
the future. I mean, again, 20. Like, all this ahead of you. I said to him tonight, the world is your oyster. It really is.
Tank is coming into the division bringing a lot of noise. Are you going to fight Tank down the road? Is that a fight that you would like to have if you don't get Lomachenko?
Big fight for me. I would love that fight. I could keep saying this over and over and over again.
Seeing as though that you have a relationship with Floyd Mayweather, Tank is a Floyd Mayweather fighter. Have you guys ever had a conversation about you fighting Tank, and what does he say to you about that?
No, we never had a conversation about that. Floyd's a smart guy, you know that,
right? Hey, Devin. Let's talk about also you being a promoter as well. I mean, you're a boxer, but also the DHP right behind you. You have some promotion going on. What's that experience like, having out in the zone and being a fighter/promoter?
It's great. My fighter, Darren Cunningham, he fought on the card. he's somewhere around here, but he went in there. He got the rounds in, and I'm happy for him. And his don't need to start. As I get bigger, my company is only going to get bigger, and I'm just happy with the way everything is going.
That's right.
Speaking of fighting, when would you like to showcase your talents in the Bay Area?
The Bay Area.
Oh, of course. I would love to go back home and fight. That would be crazy. That'd be lit. That's a dream come true. We were looking to fight there. For this fight.
Now we know that you had back and forth with Robert Easter. Is that a fight that you pursued?
No. I remember the time where I wanted to fight Robert Easter, and he was acting like I didn't exist, and he was like dissing me, saying, "Who am I?" and nobody knew me. So, guess what? Who is that? I don't even know him.
All right, guys, now two more.
Dev, another fight that you've had before in the amateurs is Ryan Garcia. He was supposed to fight tomorrow, fell out.
He'll fly over there now. You can fight him tomorrow night.
No, you're exactly right.
Phone Golden Boy.
Yeah, I don't know.
We got the opponent.
Let's go. I'm ready. Show me the money.
But is that a fight that realistically you would want? Because you'd have to think the way you're looking that they can dunk in that fight, right? You guys have fought already in the amateurs. Is that a fight that you're going to be looking for?
I don't know if they dunked in the fight or not. I seen Oscar did an interview. I want to say yesterday or the day before, saying how he was going to watch my fight, and that was a fight that they wanted to make happen. So yeah, of course. I think that can be a big fight one day, and we can make it happen. A lot of people are interested in that fight, and one day that fight will happen.
I would love that.
As long as he keeps winning.
Yeah, I would love that.
No shade, though. No shade.
Not when
Respect, I like that. Respect that.
All right, guys, wouldn't be the same without your support. Thank you so much for
We
coming.
love
you.
Thank you very much.